What is up, guys? It's Megan giving you yet another deck for Link Evolution. Today, guys, we're doing a cubic deck. Please bear in mind, I might call them Crimson at some stage because there's a few of them that's got Crimson in the name, and for some reason I've been calling them Crimson all day instead of Cubic, so my bad on that. This deck's of course my own opinion at the end of the day, and it's completely cool if you guys disagree with any cards shown in the video. As far as I'm aware, because I only started playing Cubics like 3 hours ago at the time of this recording, it's actually a very fun deck to play. Like, a lot of their cards aren't once per turn, so you can keep spamming them, going into like just climbing up the link ladder if you want to go into higher link plays. You can of course go into some decent Xyz plays, and also bringing out the boss man himself, the Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord. For just basically, it's got an insane effect. It actually has saved me a lot of times, and it's actually a very decent deck all around, guys. So the only downside I say about this deck is there isn't not many I don't think we are running any interruptions or hand traps because I just can't fit it in the deck. However, because I said just previously, the deck does have a lot of like search cards in it and a lot of draw power. You could of course go over the 40 card limit and add in some like hand traps and stuff if you want. Continuing on with the list, guys, the next deck will be Light Swarm, so stay tuned for that. I'm trying to get through this deck quicker, so when we're around like, it's definitely in the teens, I'll be accepting deck requests again, so stay tuned for that, guys. And like I say in every single video, if you're struggling to make this deck or any deck shown so far, check out, guys, the card hub. Now, if you tell you what card is in this game or not, I'll tell you where to find it, such as campaign, challenge mode, or card pack. That does include the new cards added via the update. Also, that is in the description down below, along with my Twitch, where I do try and stream this game as best I can on days off. And yeah, just testing out some decks like we did with the Cubic, and also having some sweet jewels. Like, all these jewels are from the stream, so please bear that in mind. And with that, guys, let's get to the video. As I said, guys, we're not running any other hand traps because I just can't fit it in. But if you want to take out some cards, point some hand traps or some negates, please be free. We're starting us off is one copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician. She is kind of a garnet in the deck because you don't particularly want to see her because you want to special summon Magician Souls. But if you do run into her, she is nowhere near a dead card unlike other garnets because she has an effect where you can special summon her from the hand by discarding a card. And a lot of your cubic spell or traps activate rather in the graveyard. So that actually gives her some form of usefulness. She's also a monster you can play on the field. She does have 2,000 tap points, so you can use it to go for some big pushes. On to some cubic cards, guys. Now we're running one copy of Buster Gundel, the Cubic Behemoth. Now, bear in mind, I have never summoned this monster yet. I'm actually thinking of putting him out, maybe actually putting a hand trap, but I've not run him yet. Or you could take him out, maybe put in like another Magician Souls if you want. But it is nice to fall back on should you need it. So a lot of the Cubics special summon themselves from the hand, from either controlling Cubics or have them in your hand. So for instance, to summon out this bad boy, you need to have 3 Cubics that are on the field, and it cannot be special summoned by other ways, unless you're cheating it out of the deck with a certain trap we'll get into. This card is special summoned this way. It gains 3,000 attack points. Also, it can make 3 attacks during each battle phase, which is actually really great for OTKs. It's the reason I run it. And if this card is in your possession, is sent to graveyard by your opponent, you get to target 3 cubic monsters in your grave, special summon them. Then you get to add a cubic card from your deck to your hand. So you might think it's a waste summoning this. It's not actually a waste because, say, it's a 3,000 beat stick that can attack 3 times, and should it go to the graveyard, it just recurs the monsters you sent back to the graveyard. So it's nowhere near a dead card. I just haven't got around to summoning it yet because I've done some other combos. By all means, it's not a dead card. Going on to 3 copies of Crimson Nova, the Cubic, the Dark Cubic Lord. What a card, guys! I absolutely fell in love with this card. So gonna play it. It's fantastic. So you special summon this card from the hand by revealing 3 other cubic cards. It's got to be cubic cards with different names. You can't have, like, say for instance, 3 Karma. You can't have just 3 of them and you can summon. You need 3 individual cubic cards. But with how many cubic cards we're running, it's actually very easy to summon them. And this card is unaffected by monster effects that are 3,000 attack or less, which is actually a lot in this game. You'd actually be surprised. And bear in mind, his summon condition isn't a once per turn. So if you actually go through, like, there's many ways to search through your deck to know summon like 2 Cubic Dark Lords. You could summon 2 of them or summon all 3 if you have the card. It's absolutely insane, guys. And it has actually got a sweet effect. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, it can attack again. So it can do 2 attacks, and also during the end phase, each player takes 3,000 points of damage. So you might think, right, whoa, why do you want to burn yourself? You're burning your opponent for 3,000 damage as well. So you can do a lot of OTKs with Crimson Nova, especially because you attack again. That's 3,000 damage. The burn damage is 6,000. If you've got another monster, they have lost. Then going on to Duza, the Meteor Cubic Vessel. This is one of the best monsters in this deck, simply because he is basically a Foolish Burial for the deck. Think of Foolish Burial Goods and Foolish Burial all combined into one, and that's not once per turn. How is that even legal? So, like I say, it's not once per turn. When this card is normal or special summoned, you get sent a cubic card from your deck to the grave. That does include your spell traps and your monsters as well. Also, it has an effect where during our player's turn, should a monster be sent to your graveyard, he gains 200 attack points for each monster sent to your graveyard with different names. So you can make him boost with some absurd attack points. Especially if you've like gone through all your cards, your combos and everything, and you just leave like one on the field. You send one to the graveyard, boom, he just gets a massive attack point boost. But each time he is summoned to the field, you send a card. It's not once per turn. Again, this is what I mean. Most cubic cards aren't once per turn. It's just keep sending them for days. It's absolutely fantastic. Then 2 copies of Gura Guide the Cubic King. I'm just going to call it the Cubic King. This is a card, like, again, like with the other monster we talked about, the Behemoth, you got to special summon it from your hand. So you special summon it from the hand by sending 1 cubic card or 1 cubic monster to the graveyard. That's the reason I run it, because it only needs 1 cubic monster. And if this card is special summoned via its effect, you get to inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent. Again, not a once per turn. And also it gains 800 attack points for each card sent to the graveyard, so or for each for the cubic card you sent to the graveyard. So his base attack will be 800, which is nice. And if this card battled, you can target 2 of your V-Jam, the cubic seeds in your grave, send this card to the grave, and special summon the V-Jams back to the field. Then you get to search a V-Jam, or get search a Vulcan from your deck. We don't have that, but you can still bring out the V-Jams, which is pretty nice. Then going on to 2 copies of Magician Souls. Again, you could take out the Behemoth and bump this card up to 3. This is actually not a bad addition to this deck, because you have to, in order to special summon her, you have to send a Apprentice Illusion Magician to the graveyard. So if Apprentice Magician is in the deck, she isn't dead. If she's in your hand, she isn't dead because you just send a card. The reason we're running this is because you can send 2 spell traps from your hand or field to the graveyard and draw that many cards. So just with this one card, say for instance you've used Domer's effect to search, and now it's like, right, I've used Domer, I don't need it no more, I want to add a card back to my hand. Just use Soul, send to the graveyard, draw an extra card, then Domer's effect can trigger in the graveyard. It's actually really great because we're running a lot of spell and traps, so this just allows you to just search out so many cards. It's really untrue. And that's the main reason you use Magician Souls, just to keep drawing. She's a level 1, so you can go into Link Reaper with it if you want to. And again, it's a free monster on the field. You can just go into higher links with this. Really great. Then 3 copies of Summon Them Up. We're running 17 spells, so this should never really be dead. The targets you can summon with this card is going to be either itself or Duza. Or Duza. And when Duza gets summoned to the field, its ability is going to trigger, then you discard a card. So that's the reason you're going to do it. And also, if you do that, you can go into some sweet rank 4s, which we are running, or you can just go into just higher link plays. And then 3 copies of V-Jam the Cubic Seed. So this is like the base cubic. It cannot be destroyed in battle, and at the end of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can place this card face up in the spell and trap card zone and attach to the monster it's that battled it, really. Then that monster gains a cubic counter. If it has a cubic counter, its effects negated, also it cannot attack, and this card is treated as a continuous card. Then during the main phase, you can special summon, so then during your main phase, you can just summon V-Jam back to the field. So V-Jam's actually a pretty sweet card. I really do like V-Jam. He's there to protect you. He's also there via a trap card called Cubic Ascension. And because again he's a cubic, you can use the Dark Lord on him, you can use the Cubic King and all the Behemoth, and it's just absolute great. And then going on to some spells, guys, 3 copies of Cubic Doma. So you take no battle damage from battles involving your Cubic card. So if V-Jam is on the field and Doma is on play, even if V-Jam is in attack mode, you're not going to take any form of damage. It has 2 effects while on the field, and you can use each effect on the field once per turn. So you can send 1 Cubic card from your hand to the grave and draw an additional card. Also, if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it to add a Cubic monster from your from your graveyard and add it to your hand. So which is an absolutely great effect, because you can just search out the king. If you milled it or sacrificed it, then just summon it again. Then its effect will activate again because they haven't got restrictions. It's absolutely great. And again, just drawing that extra card can be key, especially if you have to discard a certain card like the Incension or Karma. It's really great. And speaking of Karma, 3 copies of Cubic Karma. When this card is activated, you can target 1 Cubic monster you control, send V-Jam the Cubic Seeds, send any number of them, by the way, send 1, 2 or 3 from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and whatever monster you targeted will gain 800 attack points. And then during the opponent's turn, if V-Jam the Cubic Seed is special summoned by the effect of a Cubic monster, which it can, so the Cubic King, you can halve your opponent's life points, which is actually a very sweet. And also by the Behemoth as well can half your opponent's life points as well with Karma. It also has a graveyard effect, guys, where you can banish this card from your grave and add any Cubic from your deck to your hand. So any of your Cubic cards, your Crimson Lord, your Dozer, your Cubic King, you can search a V-Jam. Oh, it's just great. It just lets your monsters get over a certain attack points, and it just lets you search out a card. It's literally a win-win. Then 2 copies of Cubic Wave. Not as useful as the others, but it's still bloody good, guys. So you target 1 Cubic monster you control and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Your monster's attack points double, while your opponent's monster's attack points are sliced in half, which is really great. And also, you can banish this card from your graveyard, any number of Cubic and with it any number of Cubic monsters. Then you target face-up monsters your opponent controls equal to whatever banished monsters you did. So if you banished 1, you target 1. If you banish 3, you target 3. You can place Cubic counters on those monsters, and with a Cubic counter they can't attack or activate their special effects. So basically it's like what V-Jam does. So again, being able to go over a certain attack point and also have a graveyard effect to interrupt your opponent is just great. And then 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. You get to send 1 of your spell on traps to the graveyard. And it's a shame it's only a hard once per turn. But being able to send a Karma to the grave to search out a card, send a Doma to the grave in order to add a card from the graveyard to your hand, or send a Wave so you can interrupt your opponent's monster. It's absolutely great. It's really great for Foolish Burial Goods. 3 copies of Path of Extravagance. Now our extra deck is useful because obviously you go into it, but it isn't all means to an end. If you want to banish your cards, go for it. Then you're able to draw 2. So you banish 3 random cards face down from your extra deck, you draw 1 card. If you banish 6, you get to draw 2 cards. However, this card locks you out of drawing additional cards for the remainder of the turn. So if you have got Path of Extravagance, you can't play Magician's Souls, and you can't play Doma's ability to draw an additional card. So please bear that in mind, but it can just be so useful searching out those cards, especially if you're trying to go for the Crimson Dark Lord. And another good thing about this is that yes, you're going to banish your cards, but you can change your X deck around so you can so you don't have to banish key cards. 1 copy of Reasoning. It is limited to 1, guys. Your opponent declares a monster level through 1 through 12. You excavate cards until you draw a monster that can be normal or special summon. So in our case, it will be Souls, Monk, V-Jam, or Dozer. If that monster has a level your opponent excavated, it's sent to the graveyard. If it's not the monster level your opponent said, you basically get to special summon it, which is kind of great. And all other cards you drew that don't meet the requirements, like spells or monsters you can't summon, you literally discard. It's as simple as that. This, depending on how many cards you draw, can send all of your Domas, all of your Karmas, whatever to the graveyard. It's absolutely fantastic. 2 copies of Twin Twist. I decided to add in Twin because you can destroy your own spell and traps, which is useful. You can discard a card, so it's in the graveyard ready. Also, you can interrupt your opponent's back row. So it's kind of like a triple threat, really. Again, you can take it out and put in like Core Bad the Grey and stuff like that, by all means. I just liked it because it just fills 3 things this deck kind of needs. Going on to some trap cards, guys. We are running 2 copies of Cubic Ascension. So Cubic Ascension is actually a very nice store card. So when an opponent's monster clears an attack, even if it's on a monster or if it's a direct attack, you can special summon a V-Jam from your deck, and if you do, V-Jam becomes the target of that battle. So your opponent has to attack into a V-Jam, which is going to force V-Jam's ability basically to put a counter on your opponent. And if your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 more than yours, you can banish this card from your graveyard and special summon a V-Jam from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And then if your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon up to 2 more V-Jams with this effect. So again, got a graveyard effect, absolutely fantastic. And again, it's just there to just help you should you not OTK or you just don't get the cards you need. And then finally, 3 copies of Unification of the Cubic Lords. This card is technically a fusion card to summon out Crimson Nova. However, I've gone through like 10 duels with this deck. I've nowhere near been close to summon out Crimson Nova. So by all means, I am really thinking of taking it out of the extra deck and put something else in. So please just ignore that in my extra deck. So this card has actually got a really, really good graveyard effect. So if a cubic card is destroyed by battle or leaves your field, so leaves your field by card effect, if you link summon, if it's bounced back to your hand, as long as it leaves the field, you can special summon a cubic monster that's level 4 or lower from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, which is pretty great actually. And also, that monster cannot be destroyed in battle or by card effects for the remainder of the turn. So this is what it gets absurd by. So if you can like bring out Doozer, you are able to then send Cubic Claws to the graveyard. If you have a way, then if you have like, say for instance, the Cubic King, you send your Cubic monsters to the grave, you summon out the King. Unification's effect will trigger, then you special another level 4. You summon out another Doozer. Doozer's effect's going to trigger again. You can send another Cubic Lords to the grave. You can go to a Link 2 play then if you want to. Its effect's going to trigger again. Summon out another monster. Then you send the trap card again to the graveyard with another Doozer. Oh, you can go to like a Link 4 with just that. It's literally broken. Like the Crimson Lords with Cubic Lords with Doozer. It is really great because they're not once per turns. I'm going on to some extra deck plays, guys. Again, 2 copies of Crimson Nova, Trinity, the Dark Cubic Lord. I'm going to take this out of my deck, guys. So I put it in there just to see, and I got the replays without taking it out. But upon more sight, I particularly want maybe another like IP Masquerena or Unicorn, or maybe like another Abyssal or something like that. So if you really want to keep this card in your deck, you need 3 Crimson Nova, the Dark Crimson Lord, which is obviously your big boss monster, but this is just like a bigger boss, but it's so not worth going into it, I reckon. I reckon the original Crimson Lord's better. This card cannot be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects, and when this card declares an attack, you can half your opponent's life points. And when this card destroys opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card basically have a second attack, and if you take effect damage, you inflict that damage back to your opponent. Basically, it does cover all the bases of all of its effects, where it can like, it can't be destroyed and all that lot. It can attack like twice. It cuts your opponent's life points, but the cost is so high. I don't run it. I've never been able to summon it, and so you can take it out if you wish, or you can just leave it in your deck. It doesn't matter. Going on to some Xyz plays, guys. Running a Abyss Dweller, in my opinion, one of the best Xyzs in this entire game. When this monster is summoned to the field or during either player's turn, it has a quick effect. We can detach one Xyz material. Your opponent can activate any card's effects in their graveyard, and a lot players treat their graveyard as their secondary hand. So really great, and Abyss Dweller will just shut them down. Salamangreats rely on the graveyard. In some instances, so do Dark Magicians, because they have like Soul Servant and Magician's Navigation. They won't be able to activate them. You see what I mean? It's absolutely great. Going on to number 39, Utopia, because we are also running Utopia the Lightning. Because Utopia the Lightning can just get over higher monsters, and you just use Utopia to get into it because it's a rank 4 basically. One copy of Babushka, I'll just call it Babushka. You all know what I mean by Babushka. So during your standby phase, you have to attach one Exceeds material and see material from this card. If you don't, it's destroyed. If this card, this attack monster cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, that's kind of sweet. It also has a really great stall effect. So if this card is in face-up defense mode, your opponent or change all face-up monsters on the field to defense, also negate their activations. So with this, your opponent is just going to keep forcing all their monsters into defense mode, and they can't do anything. If they can go into links, yes, their links will activate because link monsters can't go into defense mode. But Babushka is just great. If you end up going first, it's kind of great going first because you can just shut down your opponent. One copy of number 60, Degranus the Timeless, I believe it's called. Has a couple of effects where you can skip your next draw phase and draw 2 cards. Again, those 2 draws could be vital, especially if you're wanting like the Dark Lord, and then you get to discard a card. So again, if you discard the right card, its graveyard effect is going to trigger. You can skip your main phase 1 and also special summon 1 monster from your graveyard, so it can resurrect as well, which is kind of nice. And also you can skip your next battle phase to double all battle damage during the current battle phase you're going to be in. So again, it has a load of effects, and they're all going to activate during the turn you're going to be doing, and each one will just help you out, go for either OTKs, searching, or just get an extra monster for an extra like link, or just going for the OTK. Again, Utopia the Lightning, you overlay it you summon it by overlaying Utopia. This card has a pretty great effect. So just like Utopia Ray Victory, if it attacks, your opponent cannot activate card or effects until the end of the damage step. But it also has another effect as well, where during the damage calculation, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, and only if it attacks an opponent's monster, please bear that in mind, you can use 2 overlay units and then double this card's attack point. So it becomes 5,000, which is really great to get over a lot of monsters that basically like got stupid high attack points, chaos max and all that lot. It just gets over them. One copy of Tornado Dragon, it's just great, another rank 4, just basically, it's like Mystical Space Typhoon but in monster form. So destroy opponent's back row, quick effect, and also has 2100 attack points. Some links, we are running Bowl Sword Dragon, great for OTKs as well, cannot be destroyed in battle. Quick effect, you can target 1 monster in the field, change it to defense mode. If you did it during your opponent's turn, you can't defense. If you did it during your turn, Bowl Sword can attack twice, and if it attacked a monster, it gains half that monster's attack points, and they lose half their attack points. Then IP Masquerena, great if you want to, like, if you can't OTK your opponent and you're going to go second. IP Masquerena, during your opponent's main phase, you can use her to go into a link summon, and then you can go to Nightmare Unicorn to bounce your opponent's card. You can go into Unchained Abomination to basically have like a lot of monsters that destroy. You get the gist. So then the monster summoned with Masquerena cannot be destroyed by card effects. So please bear that in mind. It's a really great protection effect. Then we've got Nightmare Phoenix and Nightmare Unicorn. So the Nightmares have effects that trigger when they're activated, when they're summoned, and which you have to discard 1 card. It means the effects will be your cards will be in the graveyard. They'll trigger you can have their effects. If you discard a card, Phoenix destroys 1 spell trap in the field, and if you discard a card for Unicorn, you target one face-up card on the field and bounce it back into the deck. Really great for interruption plays, and again, Unicorn just great going on your opponent's turn. One copy of Link Karibo, because you have Vijam and also you have Magician Souls to go into this card, which is just kind of useful. It's just there in case you need it. One copy of Pentastag, again, if this any monster that's pointing to this card's arrow, so on your field, it gains piercing damage. Great if you're going to use the Crimson Nova. And then we have Unchained Abomination. This is basically the ultimate destruction card, because if a card on the field is destroyed by battle or by a card effect, you get to destroy a card. During the end phase, this card can destroy another card. So it's just great. And again, you can link summon it with IP Masquerade during your opponent's turn, and then just make it be make it so it can't be destroyed by card effects. Really great. And that's it for the deck, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. I really have enjoyed playing Cubics today. I really do. We've got a lot of replays coming up, so you can see how this deck runs. I do apologise if some of them are against the same guy, because I kept going into ranked matches. You can see in the stream if you watched it back, I literally had the same guy like back to back 3 times in ranked matches. So you just have to live with it. So really great. If you want to, so you can see how this deck runs. If you like it, hit that thumbs up. Maybe see if you'll enjoy this deck. And if not, guys, stay tuned for Light Swarms, which is the next deck. Without any further ado, take care, stay safe, and stay healthy. Goodbye.